Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Musical Talk. My name is Nick Cutson. In this week's episode we're going to be discussing two shows that have recently opened in London, two very different shows. The first one being the long-awaited Miss Saigon that is playing at the Prince Edward Theatre, that, fun enough, Andrew Edwards and I went to see. And also we're going to be talking about Sunny Afternoon, which is playing at the Hampstead Theatre and is a new bio-cool, as I call them, based on the British rock band of the 1960s, The Kinks, which got extremely strong reviews from the press when it opened at the Hampstead Theatre, and we're sure that it's going to transfer later in the year. First of all, I'm going to hand you over to the discussion that Andy Edwards and I had about Miss Saigon, that is now playing at the Prince Edward Theatre. Tonight we will see Miss Saigon. Tonight we are seeing Miss Saigon.
Yeah, we'll see Miss Saigon.
Hello, Andrew Edwards.
Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you. A bit of history being made here tonight for a couple of reasons. One, that this is the first show you and I have ever seen together.
Yeah, shocking, isn't it?
Number two, this is the first review you and I have ever done together. And number three, this is the first time I've ever seen Miss Saigon here at the Prince Edward, well, at any theatre.
Yeah, I've seen it a couple of times.
Well, it's just opened last night, so we are at a third press night.
Yeah, but the second show blues, they call it, don't they?
Well, tell us what's happened, because there's obviously a big party. Fireworks at Somerset House and a helicopter.
I've got a feeling that the outside party when it was raining hasn't helped a few of the voices. Poor Chris has cracked a couple of times, and once quite noticeably.
Yes.
It does happen to us all, but I think because it was a big party last night, you don't like to put your understudy on the next day because you feel like you might get
still press as well.
Yeah. Plus, people will look down on you if you go off, kind of thing. Which does happen. You know, people act as a gossips backstage. And I hope that's not the reason. I hope that he's just feeling unwell. But I'm sure it's not from all the drinking, because the principals tend to be quite sensible when they know they have to go on. But
it's the ensemble.
It's the ensemble that have been a little bit. You can tell there's a few.
Well, I can't. But you can. But
there's been lots of mistakes.
Someone fell over or something.
Yeah, one girl fell off a chair.
That might be part of the.
No, it's not. No. You can tell what the choreography was because everybody else was doing it, and she was on the floor. Bless her little heart. I felt bad for it. It's actually a boy that dropped her. She was supposed to go up onto the table when they did all the dancing in the Dreamland, and he just didn't. Something went wrong, and she fell over. And then in the next big ensemble number, all the ensemble come out. Quite a harrowing moment. All have AK-47s dressed as soldiers. It's supposed to be quite a scary moment. All the lights are on the audience. It's supposed to intimidate you. And it's not very intimidating when the ensemble are getting it wrong. To be fair, credit to the dance captain and the choreographer. They have drilled this ensemble. So far, the two big production numbers have been noticeably. They have been mistakes, especially with the guns. Especially the guns. When you're choreographing soldiers, it's got to be really precise. And when you've got guns involved, everyone looks. It's like we have money or guns on stage. Everybody watches the money or the guns. They come out with the guns, and the whole point is when there's a gun in a film or on stage, the eye follows it. All right, it's just a natural thing we do as humans. We watch money and we watch guns. All right, so if a director ever wants something to be highlighted, he'll make the actor hold money or a gun. Yeah, it's a dominance thing. It's the most important person on stage is the one holding the gun, and there's a whole ensemble holding guns. It's supposed to be intimidating, and they were getting the choreography wrong. Two people on the front line made a mistake with their guns. And it's only a little thing, and I know mistakes happen, and I know it's only the second night, but they've been running for a while. They should be getting it right by now. It should be second nature by now. If I was on the front line of an ensemble piece like that and I got it wrong, I would never forgive myself. I would be apologising to the dance captain. I hope that's what they've done. Some of the cut-offs as well have been a bit unclean. You can tell some of the voices are tired, maybe because of their party in the rain last night. But genuinely, a wonderful, wonderful show.
You've seen this before, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you weren't that kind of. You were a bit umming and ahhing about seeing it tonight.
Yeah, I saw the tour again when it was sort of tired, and it was okay. It's like going to watch Les Mis now. It's Les Mis, but the ensemble have been the ensemble's been in it for 500 years. And credit to them, they keep it fresh. But sometimes you watch it and you do see people, on the back row that are a little bit, their Uncle Mark is. We call it when Uncle Mark is in the building. Uncle Mark's in the ensemble, they're marking the show, you know. People do it, you know. It's just this is unfortunately what some performers do.
This show does feel absolutely fresh.
Yes, it does.
Well,
it does. It's completely different. It's completely different to the tour that I saw before. It's everything that the tour last was. The last tour was good, and the cast were brilliant. This is 5 or 6 times better than that production.
And the girl we have playing Kim is absolutely phenomenal.
She's amazing.
Only slightly shadowed by the engineer.
Engineer's the best thing in it so far, and the little boy as well. Little boy playing Tam is the little boy who was on tonight. I don't know because there'll probably be a few of them, I would imagine, but that little boy is just gorgeous.
I don't know the story, so it's a real surprise when that little child. Spoilers when that little child came out.
Oh, it's not really spoilers when it's been around for this long. Madam Butterfly's been around for quite a while.
Well, doesn't the engineer, speaking, you know, because very famously Jonathan Pryce played the engineer. Doesn't he remind you of Fagin?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's that kind of character, isn't it? Yeah, well, he's an evil character. You wait till the very last moment of the show. It's one of my very favourite moments of the show. And again, I don't want to spoil it for you, but there is a harrowing image at the very last thing that should happen as the curtain's coming down in the last scene. And I hope they've kept it in, because it's my favourite moment in the show. Do you want me to say it before we see it?
We'll talk about it after the show.
Yeah, we'll talk about it after the show. There was a wonderful moment, and if it's not in there, I'll be very disappointed.
Now, you mentioned some lyric changes.
Yeah, I think they've fiddled with it a little too much. There's this lovely lyric in the old version where she says, "He'll take me to New York. He'll give me dollar bills," and it conjures up this picture in your mind of what's coming.
Picture in your mind.
Yeah, no, it's actually coming later in the show when they do the American Dream, and then people do come out dressed as the Statue of Liberty, and dollar bills are thrown over the stage. You know, it conjures this moment in this awful, harrowing whorehouse in this sort of dirty, war-torn city, and then just that one little lyric change. Because I knew what the old lyric was, it did.
And what's the old lyric and what's the new lyric?
I don't know. I can't remember what the new lyric is because I instantly went, I don't like it. But then I suppose that's just nostalgia as well. I'm actually singing along with it in my head, you see. I know the show inside out.
Yeah, well, this show is full of audition songs, and another famous one is Why God Why, and there's a lyric change in there.
Yes,
and you probably thought, why God?
Why did he change it? What is the lyric? He sings, I liked my memories as they were. He changed it to I want my memories as they were. There's no need to change it. I don't know why they. I mean, it may be for a good reason. It doesn't really make any difference whatsoever.
I think Act 1 is
but a few of them have. The Movie in My Mind lyric changes have definitely changed the meaning of the song for the worse. Also, they need to stop kissing when they should be breathing. Lovely moments where they keep kissing Chris and John. Chris and John, wow. Chris and John. Definitely was Chris and John. That'll be a whole different show. Chris and Kim, excuse me. Normally, you know, and they always, you know, did do a lot of kissing in the old version. This one, they just don't stop. I don't remember them kissing that many times.
It's very Romeo and Juliet as well.
Oh, it is, yeah. Well, that's the whole. Well, that's Act 2 summed up for you right there.
Brilliant. I also think Act 1 is slightly too long. It's a lot of We're in Love ballads, you know, sort of.
Yeah, well, that's the point of it. But they are wonderful, wonderful songs. I mean, you know, a song put on a solo saxophone. Sunlight and I'm You Are Sunlight and I'm Moon.
But they all say the same thing, really. Do you see what I mean?
I did like the new effects with the girls when they're singing Movie in My Mind, and all the girls, all of a sudden, where they are all over the stage, you don't even notice them. A light just appears on all of them. It was a wonderful moment. Yeah, wonderful
I've heard
moment.
many people say this is the best lighting they've ever seen in any production.
It is excellent, it has to be said. It is an excellent production. I mean, I am nitpicking here.
Credit to one thing I was worried about was the orchestra would sound small, and this is a huge sound, this orchestra.
Yeah. There's been some moments where, again, you've really noticed the change in the orchestration has changed, certainly. I'm sure it has.
Somehow.
I don't remember it being this big.
Well, no, it's huge. Drury Lane was one of the reasons they chose it, because they needed the full gamelan instruments and the eastern flutes and all that kind of stuff.
Credit to the producers, credit to the directors, credit to the choreographers especially. The ensemble, bless them. I mean, I don't want to damn them, but...
Dance of the Dragon, or Night of the Dragon.
It was incredible.
I was going to say something, but it is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, when I auditioned for this a few years ago, I auditioned for one of the acro parts in it, one of the 3 acro boys in it, and it was scary because you know what an amazing scene it is. And I was really, really enjoying it until they came out and got their guns wrong, and it's such a shame because I'm a dancer. I noticed this, but when they get it right, it's going to be phenomenal. I mean, that scene alone is going to steal the show.
Well, musically, it's interesting how Kim's vocal and her song styles change to become more American during the course of the evening. Like when she starts off, it's all very listening to the orchestra. It's all very high flutes.
It's all very oriental. Yeah, definitely.
But now her most recent song, when she's singing to her child, it's very kind of, it's almost like Wicked or something.
Yeah. It's really, I'm shocked, but I know that I'll be in tears by the end of it.
we'll talk to you after the show.
I'll be a mess, I expect.
Well, Miss Saigon is over. We're having a post-show pint. Well, one of us is. And you do need it.
Emotional roller coaster, isn't that show? Wonderful production, wonderful cast. I mean, the ensemble in the second act picked themselves up. They've only got to do two things, really. Got to do the Bangkok, opening act 2, and then the American Dream. But the American Dream was so clean. I've never seen American clean Dream. I mean, genuinely, I've not seen a sort of an end of show big production number that's been that drilled and that rehearsed.
I wonder if visually it would have been more spectacular at the Lane.
Possibly. I prefer it here. I genuinely preferred the show.
Like the intimacy here.
Loved it. I thought it was wonderful. I love that moment at the end of the show where the two. I mean, that's one of the moments I remember from Drury Lane when two sort of partitions open and she walks through, and you know what she's going to do, because if you know you didn't know, but you even said it in the interval, Romeo and Juliet. I was like, how right you are.
But you said the engineer did something.
Yeah, he didn't do it in this production. I think they've changed it. At the end of the one I saw in Drury Lane, I had this ongoing image of the very last thing you hear with I don't want to spoiler alert I don't want to have to say ruin the ending of the show, but just as the last curtain was coming in at Drury Lane, the engineer grabbed the child, and it was a really sort of moment where you think he never cared about her, he never cared about the child, the little boy was just his ticket out, he's just doing anything to get out. And it was this really poignant moment that I remember him just grabbing the child, but it didn't happen.
Why do you think they changed that?
I don't know. Maybe it never happened. Maybe I'm just making it up.
Maybe in your mind.
Yeah, but I can see when I watched it at Drury Lane, I could see that moment happen. But in this production, the little boy's in the arms of Ellen at the end.
Do you think it's obvious we will get to a Miss Saigon film now?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, it's coming, isn't it? I mean, with the success of Les Mis, and let's face it, Les Mis was visually stunning. And I mean, when you watch, I forget her name, who played Fantine in the film?
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway, yeah.
Hathaway about her.
When she sang "I Dreamed a Dream," that was how musical theatre should be done. I mean, she took that song and took the awful ways it has been performed by some people in the past, mentioning no names on Britain's Got Talent.
And Russell Crowe did the opposite.
Yeah. Oh no, bless him. I mean, bless him. I'm not going to comment on that.
Listening to the music tonight, it was very, very obvious it was by Bubel and Schoenberg, and I did get a bit bored of some of the music.
Yeah,
That's why the American Dream is such a relief, because it's so ballad heavy, this show, which is why the American Dream, the Dragon song, they all stand out.
Yeah,
as the ones you remember.
They do. I mean, the engineer gets the final bow, rightly so. I mean, the fact that
nearly.
Oh, yeah, of course he steals the show. Yeah, of course, the little boy steals the show. I mean, he's beautiful, isn't he? He's so cute. When he come out in that Mickey Mouse t-shirt, I mean, come on.
How much I had to pay for that, but
right.
it is true that the music is a bit dull.
I mean, it's an old score, it's been done to death. The thing is, I think it's not the score itself, I think it's our perception, because we've heard it so many times. I mean, I've had to sit through the song Why God Why, sat there in portfolio class in college, every fucker would sing it. Bleep that out. Do you know what I mean? Including myself. We all have to sing. You have to learn those kind of songs to learn musical theatre. And this is like classic musical theatre. I do wish they would take the vibrato out of a lot of the solo singing.
That's the style nowadays with the kids.
It's too much. It's too much. Less vib. Take it out.
We have a helicopter.
Yeah,
which I was very excited about.
Yeah, finally, because in the tour it was just the hologram. It was just the projection. Hologram, not even a hologram. It was just a projection, which they're still using, and they've combined the two. Because at Drury Lane it was just a helicopter, and then on tour it was just a projection, and now they have a really interesting mix of the two. And it is a harrowing moment in the show where you just think, just get through the bloody gates, just let her through. It's so frustrating. But I mean, how many times can you tell Madame Butterfly? At the end of the day, what they've done tonight is taken that show, revamped it, and turned it into something even better. And yes, the songs, we all know the songs, and yes, it's old, and yes, it's been done thousands of times in different ways, but they found something new, and they found something good, and they found a new way to tell the story, which is wonderful, but without losing the old way. I just wish that they hadn't changed the bloody lyrics.
I mean, this is a problem / genius of Cameron McIntosh. He cannot leave anything alone.
Yeah, I mean, people would argue it's a good thing, and people would argue it's a bad thing. I mean,
the famous line in the Andrew Lloyd Webber, Stephen Sondheim, Cameron McIntosh tribute song, sees the sketches, signs them, then he redesigns them. This is Cameron.
I mean, that's what he does. I mean, at the end of the day, it's his money, it's his show, he can do what he likes.
You're going to mention the Barnum documentary.
Yes, the Barnum documentary. He didn't come across well on that, did he? Just because, I mean, he was being a producer, he was doing what a producer does, and he was really throwing his weight around. And if you're going to hire a director, I feel you should let the director do his job. You've hired a manager, essentially, someone that manages the actors and is managing the performance. And if you take their power away from them, then what you've got is, you've got Jose Mourinho and Roman Abramovich all over again with Chelsea. It's what you're doing. It's exactly what,
But speaking of Barnum, Tamsin Carroll was in this production as well. She was in Barnum.
Yes.
Slightly old to be playing Ellen, I think.
I liked her performance. I mean, she had some of the
new song, maybe.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I have to say, it was the moment in the show that the one moment in the show that I actually did sit back in my seat and go, I'm going to switch off, because I didn't care about what she was singing, just because I think the melody was so bland. It was quite bland.
She did it well, though.
She did it well. She sang it well. Nothing wrong with what she did. Absolutely. I mean, she's a seasoned pro. We all know how wonderful she is. Everything she does, she's brilliant in. Otherwise she wouldn't be doing a production like this. But Ellen's character has always been a bit boring in this show. Let's face it. She's never been the greatest character.
It's like the character she played in Barnum, really.
Yeah, I suppose so. But it was Ruthie that did it. I think I saw it during it. I believe it was Ruthie I saw do it. I might be wrong, but if my memory serves me correct, it was Ruthie. But the one song, when they do sing, I still believe, and it's such a lovely moment where Ellen is all the way over in New York, and you've got Kim there in. But you know that they rehearse that, looking at each other and singing it in a rehearsal room, and then they have to perform that as if they're on the other side of the world from one another. Give them credit; they did a really, really good job.
Locations in the show, I had a bit of difficulty
figuring out where you were.
Where we were.
So you started in Saigon, which became Ho Chi Minh City. All of a sudden, becomes Ho Chi Minh City when the communists, with a jet. Yes, a very poignant moment when the American flags are destroyed by the dragon. It's in symbology. It's showing that that the Viet Cong, or the Viet Minh, as they called themselves, won the war. Americans will dispute that, of course. That's where you start the show. And then they live in New York. And if you look at the sets of New York, there's always lines across, because they're prostitutes at the start. It's their thing about the movie in their mind, and that's why there's these lines across the sets. You see, whenever you see New York, it's seen as a dream. It's the American dream. They sing about it. So you have this lovely. I mean, the lighting man and the set designer, whoever they may be, must be given credit, because it was a wonderful moment. And I only noticed it at the start of Act 2. When the lights came out in Act 2, you saw these lights, you saw these sort of lines across New York, the skyline of New York, and you went, it's a movie. It's very clever.
Of course, it could just be a Venetian blind we're looking through.
No, it's certainly a movie reference.
Special credit to the lighting designer.
Yeah, excellent work.
Astonishing lighting, especially in The American Dream, where these wonderful shafts of light.
Excellent. I just wish you'd taken that jacket off. And we were all thinking it, weren't we? That big fur coat. I wonder what was under that. I really, really hope it has a long, successful run. It deserves it. Big shout to John Reynolds in the ensemble who I did We Will Rock You With, who did a really good job tonight. I watched him whenever he was on stage, because he's a good friend of mine, and I think he did very well.
A big shout out to everyone. It's a phenomenal production, and playing at the Prince Edward Theatre in Soho. Getting rather loud here, so over and out. Thank you very much, Andrew Edwards.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Andy Edwards and me, they're discussing Miss Saigon, playing at the Prince Edward Theatre. For more information, you can simply visit miss-saigon.com. Another musical which I mentioned earlier is Sunny Afternoon, which is now playing at the Hampstead Theatre. This is a musical written by the Kinks' leading man, Ray Davies, and playwright Joe Penhall. It's playing at the Hampstead Theatre, and I went along with our friend Robert Gordon to take a look, and this is what we thought. Robert Gordon and I are at the reasonably respectful Hampstead Theatre in Hampstead, one of the nicest parts of London. We've seen a kind of rock and roll musical. This is the first time I've ever been to this theatre, Robert. You're a local here, so tell us a little bit about this theatre and why this is a bit of a groundbreaking.
It's a very famous theatre. It was a fringe theatre in the very early 60s. It was a real pioneer of experimental theatre. And it used to operate in a little, just a few blocks down from where it is now, in a very small prefabricated building, which it existed between about 1962 and about 2000 really, and then I think this new building was built for it in the early 2000s, and it's now got 2 theatres. So it was a very famous theatre, which in the 70s and 80s became famous for a number of transfers of shows from Hampstead to the West End. So it has always been at the forefront of both experiment and even of commercial theatre.
Now this piece is definitely a commercial hit and style of show, isn't it? This is it's kind of bio-cool, as I call them.
Yes, I think Edward Hall has been very successful in being able to...
Peter Hall's son, which is...
That's right. Who's the artistic director of the theatre. I think he's been able to engineer a number of transfers to the West End in the last year or so, and I'm sure he's hoping for a transfer with this, and I'm sure he'll have one.
Absolutely. We are at... We'll say where we are. We're at Sunny Afternoon, which is a musical documenting the life of Ray Davies and his brothers and friend in the Kinks, one of the most famous British rock bands of all time, of that kind of British invasion. And the play/musical, whatever you want to call it, tonight was a very, very excellent piece of theatre. We were talking about Miss Saigon earlier, and I think I enjoyed it a bit more than Miss Saigon. For obvious reasons, musically, probably.
It's a very exciting piece. I think it starts quite quiet, quite slowly, but I'd call it almost a play with songs.
Yes.
But I think in the second half, it almost, towards the end of the second half, it becomes a celebration of their music, and so at the end, the audience is all on their feet, clapping and singing along to their Madison Square Garden concert.
And what I love about this show is that it does come out into the audience a lot. It's quite a small theatre, so it's hard to tell at some point who are the audience members dancing and who are the cast members dancing.
Yes, they've built a ramp out into the auditorium, which I think is a very clever idea, and it gives a great immediacy to the show. And at the sides of the auditorium, there are people sitting at tables where the cast move in and out, sort of past them. And I think... but that's been very, very effective. I've never seen the theatre used in that way before.
This is the loudest show this theatre's ever had.
Absolutely, it's never had a show this loud. And I don't think they've ever really done a musical as such. I can't think of anything that they've done which has been a musical.
Well, their most successful... they have a very successful show at the moment in the West End with Imelda Staunton. But they had...
Good people, yes.
But they had the
Chariots of Fire.
Chariots of Fire as
Yes.
well, which was less successful in the West End, but a big hit here.
Yes.
I can certainly see this play musical going to the West End. It's the kind of same realm as Let It Be, which was a Beatles play documenting their early days in Berlin and stuff like that. Was it Hamburg?
I think the thing to say about this is it's actually written by a very good playwright, somebody who's not known for writing musicals at all, somebody called Joe Penhall. And Joe Penhall is famous really for writing plays with very strong masculine characters and in a way about masculine culture. And I think seems to me this is an era probably that he grew up in and that he's very fond of. So what I think he's done so well in the dramaturgical part of the piece is to show the relationships among the 4 men in the group. And I think that works very well. I've seldom seen, a play about pop music or a rock band where you genuinely feel that you understand the way in which the relationships among the men pan out. And it's not to say that there are one or two women characters who are sketchily presented, but they are, I think, well written. The wife and the mother. But I think that it's predominantly a play about the men.
Much like Jersey Boys is, and I think this is similar in style to Jersey Boys. Would you agree?
Yes, I think so, but it's a much better play than Jersey Boys. I think where Jersey Boys became predictable because it was a chronicle of the life of the Jersey Boys. With this show, although to some extent it's built around the chronology of their career, it's much more internalized. It's much more about what's going on in the minds of the different band members. So you understand by the end of it their insecurity, their excitement, their panic, their suspicions, their naivete. And obviously Ray Davies was quite a complex figure. And the question of authenticity, whether he's portraying his roots, was obviously very important to him. And that's beautifully portrayed by the actors, I think.
Ray Davies was the front man of the Kinks, wrote all the songs, and you might not know the Kinks songs, but if I were to name Sunny Afternoon, You Really Got Me, just Google the Kinks and you will recognise a lot of their hits. Ray Davies did the music and the lyrics for this show. I think there must have been some new stuff written as well.
Yes. Also, he's credited with the original idea, so presumably he had the idea for an autobiographical show. But it's been, I think the script has been written by Joe Penhall entirely.
Obviously with Ray, talking to Ray Davies and, as a kind of creative consultant probably in a way as well.
Yeah. But I think it's more than a jukebox show. I think that the writing is better than the writing you get in most jukebox shows, and the way in which the biography is woven around the songs rather than just cued by the songs is rather interesting.
Yeah, because it is a musical. It is a book musical at one point, and then it's a non-diegetic musical, isn't it, at other points?
Yes, I think it doesn't follow one particular formula, but I think it's adventurous, it's fun. And it really got the audience on its feet at the end, dancing and clapping.
Yeah, and as I said, it's probably the most fun this theatre's ever had, judging, by the very, very 60s fond audience, let's say.
Well, I think there's an audience here who are all 50-somethings, and it seems to me that a lot of them... I
felt so young in my life.
Well, a lot of the audience,
the cast, of course.
I think remembered the songs. I feel that buttons were being pressed all through the evening.
Well, I went in not knowing many. I mean, I knew a couple of the songs, but I've left knowing a lot more of the Kinks songs because they do trigger, they're using commercials. And Ray Davies, it's nice to know he now gets the success he deserves because that's what this play is about, really. It's about his battle to get the music recognition that he deserved.
Yes, I think that it's a typical story of the exploitation of naive young people, but actually he was obviously an original person. And he realised that he was being ripped off and fought in the end to preserve his own integrity and to get his just rewards.
Would you say it was a bit too long, Robert?
No, I don't think it's too long. I think that it takes its time. I think that if it's one of those shows that if it was any shorter, it wouldn't have the depth that it acquires. It could have been a bit shorter, but I think then you'd have lost a little bit of the depth. But I was happy to go with it to the end.
And you certainly see it transfer into one of the smaller houses in town.
I think it's perfect for a small West End theatre.
And do you think they'll keep whatever staging that is with the little thrust at the...
Yes, I think it's a nice piece of staging. I don't think it needs to be changed. It's unpretentious, but I think it's very finely done.
Well, Sunny Afternoon is playing at the Hampstead Theatre. Do we know when it's ending? Are we quite early into the run?
I think there's a few more weeks still to go.
Good. Well, certainly go and check it out. If you don't know the Kinks songs, you will leave the show knowing them. And if you do know and you do love them, go and check it out before it goes to the West End and before the price is double. Robert, thank you very much for joining us again.
Thank you, Nick.
And we'll speak to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Two different discussions on two different musicals there. One being an old, new musical and one being a new musical. It hasn't been the best year in London for new musicals. Stephen Ward, From Here to Eternity, and I Can't Sing all come to mind. Last week featured a discussion on From Here to Eternity, and a couple of weeks ago Thos and I shared our glowing review of I Can't Sing. By the way, if you haven't heard any of these episodes, please go along to iTunes or our website to have a listen. And next week, you're going to hear Thos share his thoughts on Stephen Ward, the third lamented musical that shut its doors in 2014. So do join Thos there. I've been Nick Hudson. This episode has been Copyright Musical Talk 2014. Thank you very much for listening. Have a lovely week, enjoy the rain, and we'll see you next week. Bye bye.